Welcome to another edition of Our City. A few things going around the city of Elizabeth this week. On Thursday, October 9th at 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to attend a dedication ceremony for the Reverend Russell Block Building, which is located at 217-219 First Street. Russell was instrumental in encouraging waterfront development of housing going back to the early 80s with Reverend Garlick. On Friday, October 10th of this week at 10 o'clock in the morning will be Estuary Day at the Peterstown Community Center. Students from Elizabeth will learn about the relationship of our local and regional clean water issues as well as land use. It will also be the subject of this evening's show. And on Sunday, October 12th at 1 o'clock, I'll attend a celebration at Association Pro Cuba on Morell Street. I'd like to remind all of you that City Hall on Monday of next week, October 13th, will be closed in observance of Columbus Day. If you need more information concerning these events or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 820-4124. And please stay with us after this message. We'll be back with our guests.
Where will the next generation of scientists come from? Right here. Kean University.
Welcome back to Our City. As I said in my earlier comments, this evening's show is going to be focused on the Estuary Day program, where we teach young people throughout the city of Elizabeth the value of the estuaries as well as land use surrounding those estuaries. And I'm pleased to be joined on the show with Lisa Barron from the Army Corps of Engineers and Dr. Craig Donovan, who is a faculty member at Kean University and a member of Future City, a board member. Welcome to the show.
Pleased to be here.
Now, you've both been on before, right?
Yes.
Okay, Craig, so why don't tell us a little bit about yourself first. You've been professor here for a long time.
Celebrating 20 years this year. And I teach in the College of Business and Public Management. I'm a professor of management and information science. But for almost 20 years now, I've been a board member of Future City, one of the founding board members. Future City and Kean have had a long collaboration over the decades. A number of our board members are current and former students. We have 3 who are currently students. We have 2 who are working on their doctoral dissertations as we speak. Myself and my late colleague John Dobuchev, who was a professor in environmental sciences here, also worked with Future City. So between the 2 of us and the university as a whole, we've been doing a lot with Future City to help Elizabeth and the estuary.
And we even named a cove after John, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah. It was the John Dobuchev Memorial Cove was named in his honor this past year.
Lisa, you've been on the show before.
Yes,
so
I have.
You've been in the Army Corps of Engineers a whole bunch of years as well, right?
Well, actually not that many, only 7 so far.
7 could be a bunch, depends.
Yeah, but I guess I was thinking about it, and I've probably been working on the harbor, on this harbor for 20 years, coming up on my 20th anniversary. But before that, it was private sector, then the state of New Jersey, and at the Corps. Project manager, primarily for the ecosystem restoration projects, in particular the overall Hudson Raritan Estuary Restoration Program, as well as smaller watershed feasibility studies like the Passaic River. But I've also been really lucky since 2010 to be the chair of the Restoration Work Group for the Harbor Estuary Program, which I'm missing their meeting right now.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Right now, yeah, but that's probably the most fun part of my job, coordinating all of the partner agencies and stakeholder representatives that get together and coordinate restoration in the harbor.
So before we get into what exactly an estuary education program is, tell us, what is an estuary?
Well, an estuary is where the ocean brings in salt water from the tides and the currents, and the fresh water come in from tributaries and the inner port of our harbor, and it's where the transition zone of the mixing of the fresh water and salt water. And so you have this really increased concentration of nutrients, and it's an incredibly productive environment where you end up having probably the most productive environment in the world for the more than 500 species of fish and birds and wildlife that are in this harbor.
And restoration is a focus not only in our region but around the country.
Yeah, and estuaries are pretty much the most populated. I mean, most of the 60% of the population focuses around an estuary, and you end up just with that kind of, especially here in Newark, New Jersey estuary, we've got a lot of industrialization, a lot of development, and you just end up with a little bit more of a degraded system that needs to be restored. So there is that definite focus, since you have a lot of filling of wetlands. I mean, more than 85% of the wetlands have been lost in this estuary over time, and so really trying to bring back the habitat of this estuary and improve water quality, improve sediment quality is really an important aspect. And things have been improving since the Clean Water Act, but there's a long way to go.
And Craig, you're involved in what's called National Estuary Program.
Correct.
Tell us what that National Estuary Program is. I think Lisa just alluded to some of it, but get more detail. What is that about?
Sure. Well, when Congress created the Clean Water Act, one of their focuses was on preserving and restoring the estuaries nationwide. And one of the first estuaries, and one of the most significant, is the New Jersey-New York Harbor area. And so the estuary program was set up specifically to focus on those particular parts of our waterways and the preservation and protection of those areas.
And your focus is in the Elizabeth Newark area, but when you talk about national estuary, do you read about other issues or no?
Yes.
The New York Times did a big story this week in the magazine about Louisiana. I don't know if you saw it.
Yes. Also a significant estuary. Here, of course, Elizabeth is right smack in the middle of the region that runs essentially from New York in the north all the way down to Raritan in the south. So Elizabeth is right at the heart of what's going on here in this area. But those programs were designed and set up for all the significant estuary areas in the United States. But we were one of the first and remain one of the largest.
So Lisa, the Army Corps of Engineers, you said that in your previous life you had a role in this estuary as well, in private and with the state of New Jersey. So what is the exact role of the Army Corps of Engineers in this process?
Well, I mean, we every day we partner with our fellow state and local entities and other federal partners to advance restoration. So in all of our programs, and we've got 3 primary missions in the estuary. And my favorite mission of the ecosystem restoration, of course, and we have to work with everyone to advance restoration projects, and we've developed the comprehensive restoration plan that I've talked about over the years, and that was released in 2009. We've revised that document. There's new versions posted on our website, but we've worked with 130 different organizations to develop that consensus plan and identify 290 restoration sites and look at priorities for short-term and long-term. And then what really has been a focus lately, well, especially in the last 2 years since Sandy hit, was looking at those ecosystem restoration opportunities and determining what could be natural or nature-based features, what could help make the shoreline more resilient, what can provide coastal storm risk management benefits, so that instead of just hard structures and the traditional, flood risk measures, you can add green infrastructure and green strategies into our shoreline development. And so, the restoration I've been trying to marry in with our second, probably our highest priority mission right now on coastal storm risk reduction and flooding in the region. And, Sandy has just made this a priority for us, and we've just put 15 million cubic yards of new sand down on the beaches, about 8 million in the state of New Jersey, to protect those shorelines. And then as well as deepening the port. So we have, the #1 on the East Coast, and want to keep it the busiest and most productive and economically viable for the region. And so deepening, we're going to be celebrating this year.
Does that help or hurt the estuaries, deepening the port?
I think that
helps commerce.
I think it's definitely a balance, and so that's why you have that restoration program to balance. And of course, we do everything as environmentally sustainable as possible, as well as doing mitigation where we need to. But we've really counteracted it and done a lot of ecosystem restoration planning and projects to really benefit the estuary.
Craig, Lisa talked about the importance of estuary from on the ground. From a scientific reason, why are estuaries important? I mean, here in the East Coast, we've torn a lot of them up in order to get commerce in. And then you read an article in the New York Times this Sunday in the magazine, and it talks about them losing an acre of land every hour in the estuary process because of the way the Mississippi River and the ocean and the tide. So how important are they?
They're critical, both from an environmental and a commerce point of view. If you think about it, they are at the junctions of all of our great waterways, where our waterways and the oceans meet. So we're primarily the rivers, the Mississippi, the Hudson, et cetera. So when you look around and you look at most of the major ports and most of the commerce, they're built around areas that are either natural harbors and estuaries of one form or another, either like the San Francisco Bay Area, where small rivers, or large rivers themselves, such as here with the Hudson, the Delaware, and so on. From an environmental point of view, they are, as Lisa mentioned, the key to so many species of animals, birds, fish, shellfish, etc. They are the center of not only our recreation areas, but our tourism areas, and of course the commerce. They're the lifeblood of America because we are still dependent upon moving most of our goods by water. And so we need to protect these areas so that we can continue their commercial use, but at the same time protect them for the future and for the wildlife.
And Lisa, the Army Corps of Engineers is active around the country. What specific role are they playing in the Arthur Kill?
Well, I know that your citizens and communities are really thrilled that we're done blasting. We finished the Arthur Kill deepening contract.
We're done with that?
We're done with that work, and so that contract is completed, and so there doesn't need to be any more drilling and blasting in that particular area. So we thank the citizens of Elizabeth very, very much for being patient and supportive. So that we can bring the goods down in the most cheapest fashion to them. But they're also down south in the Arthur Kill, the 40-foot deepening needs to be finished up as well. And then so you've got
the Army Corps is doing that work.
The Army Corps is doing that work, and then of course we're trying to still advance the restoration opportunities that are in. There are 33 of them that are in the Arthur Kill region, and so we'll work with our partners to advance those in the future.
The balance must be phenomenal in the back room when you all talk about it. I can't imagine you got to blast and dig, and then, by the way, we got to preserve this estuary too.
Yeah, well, and what's great about the blasting and the digging, we use that rock and make some reefs and even use it now for wave attenuators and to help prevent erosion and flooding. So
can we grow mussels? Can we get back to shellfish in the estuaries in this region, you think?
We are. If you look, the habitats are coming back. The wildlife is coming back. And probably the most significant issue going forward is mitigation of the pollution effects, because one of the major problems obviously is that pollution enters not only at the point where the sea is, but all along the watershed, so all along the freshwater areas. And phosphates and other things from the farms and from people doing things with their lawns, all of that enters into the water system. And the estuary is kind of the filter for that. So that's one of the reasons that the life there has been so particularly affected, where it concentrates, and the shellfish and the bivalves and the mussels and so forth are the filter feeders. So they're the ones perhaps most hard hit and that concentrate the effects of the pollution and the amounts of pollution as greatly as possible.
Craig and Lisa, we're going to do some commercials. Stay with us. We're going to talk more about Estuary Day in the City of Elizabeth. Please stay with us after these messages. We're back with more on Estuary Day in the City of Elizabeth. Welcome back to our city, where I'm pleased to be joined by Dr. Craig Donovan of Kean University and a future city board member, and Miss Lisa Barron, a member of the Army Corps of Engineers, who is consistently working to balance commerce and estuary replenishment here in the Arthur Kill. Thank you for staying with us, and welcome back. And Craig, one of the things we were talking about at the break is the Elizabeth River Arthur Kill Watershed Association and what they did this summer.
Sure. Well, the Watershed Association was one of the first things created by Future City when the organization was first started. And it was really designed to help monitor what's been going on with the waterways, things like the storm drains, making sure they get marked, keeping track of what goes into the storm drains, especially what shouldn't be going into the storm drains. Also providing educational opportunities to local citizens about the estuary, the fishing and the crabbing and the kinds of things that go on. So Future City and the Watershed Association are vitally interested in monitoring and helping all the other organizations in the area in doing what we can to mitigate what's gone wrong and to work on rebuilding and preserving what's going right.
Now, the Arthur Kill Blueway, is that?
The Arthur Kill Blueway.
What is that?
Well, one of the things that...
We don't expect that water to be blue again, do we?
No, but if you think of moving all of the goods around this country, a lot of them historically have been moved by truck, and they've been moved on the roadways. And that is not only expensive, but it's polluting, and traffic and congestion. So the Blueway is a focus on returning commerce back to the waterways. Moving goods along the water is more efficient, it's more effective, it cuts down on pollution, and it reduces congestion. So the Blueway is the idea of returning more and more of our goods to movement from port to port along the waters rather than through the trucks.
Has to be done with an American flag vessel. That's a whole nother argument when it comes to the shipping association.
Exactly. It's really moving from port to port within the country.
Right. It'd be an interesting process.
Oh, it is. It is. It's a real win-win all across the board.
So, Lisa, these watershed associations, I guess we have one, there's probably others in the estuaries. How important are they to the support or the groundwork support that you need?
I think they're really critical just because you're at the ground level. You're working with the communities, and when you just said stop things from going into the storm drains, and you're actually reaching the citizens of the community, and you know, and really making those improvements that only you know the local entities can do, and so bridge that gap between the government and then at the grassroots level. I think that's what's really, really critical to keep that going. And all these different events that you have as well, not only just educating the communities to make things better, but any kind of events and education with the kids, which, you know, Estuary
Well, let's
Day.
talk about the kids. You're there on Estuary Day, and you've been there for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So you've seen some of the knowledge that these kids get. What do you think of their enthusiasm? I mean, it's more than just a day out of school for these kids.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. You know, and that they're out of the classroom, but they're kind of, when they come to me, and I'm in one of those classrooms, and you know, really trying to get them excited. But you know, there's so many different people there, different organizations and agencies that showcase what they do, and you know. We said it's so sad now. We used to have the fish and the different biota there to get them really super excited about the estuary. But as they learn about careers in that field, hopefully they'll get interested in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM. These are great STEM programs. You know, they're the future scientists. You know, just hope that they're interested and learning not only, you know, what everyone else does, but learning to care about the environment, learning about the estuary. I mean, they walk away on Friday learning what an estuary is and how they can make a difference. And so, you know, you have like 250 kids in your grasp to try to make a difference and get them to take it home and teach their parents and their families to do things differently.
And you've seen some of these kids go on for doctorates.
Oh, yes.
So you naturally work with kids at a higher level in college and teach them about some of the things Lisa just talked about. But what's your reaction when you see the high school kids and their enthusiasm for this as well?
Well, it's tremendous. I mean, you can't start too early to help the kids understand about the environment, about the community they live in, about being in such a unique and wonderful place as Elizabeth and being right at the heart of this estuary. So, you know, for us, the things that we do, and again, we couldn't do what we do without all the other partners. Yourself and your staff have been outstanding and are just so incredibly helpful. Lisa, you put together a wonderful PowerPoint, you know, that the kids talk about over and over again. So, you know,
Really? They probably do.
Over and over again.
yeah, no, it really makes a difference, and it is inspirational.
One
to
of the
them.
things they get a kick out of, Craig and Lisa, is the actual marine life that you pull out and you let them touch it. I don't touch it, but they they do. Tell us what's in there: crabs, fish.
Yeah, and when I was saying about how sad it was that we used to every event like this, Earth Day, Estuary Day, that you would have, and Future City would orchestrate, have the tanks and go out and trawl, and it was always so amazing because they were like, you found that's here in their backyard. Yeah, there's all different kinds of fish, and a lot of them we collected seahorses and lots of invertebrates and just a lot of marine life that is not typically thought of in this, industrialized, urbanized estuary. And so, yeah, having them learn that. Now we've got boards and pictures, of the organisms that we collect out there. But since Sandy came in and wiped away all of our tanks, we haven't been able to do that. So hopefully
We'll get back to it.
Yeah,
some point.
Invest in those tanks because it's such an important way to educate the kids and get them excited about it.
So, Craig, what is the SHPE junior programs and environmenters? Tell us a little about those programs.
Well, those are programs aimed at inspiring kids to look at careers and to learn about environment and becoming an environmental manager. They provide educational opportunities and a pathway into the kinds of programs such as STEM and other environmental management programs like we have in the Public Administration Department. So it's an opportunity that Kane and other colleges in the local community are involved in, where we try to excite the kids, educate the kids, and help get them started on careers in science and environmental management.
And Lisa, with the Army Corps of Engineers, you keep coming back, and you've had budget cuts and everything else, and it's greatly appreciated by my office. What does the Army Corps hope to get out of this educational process?
Well, we're always looking for we need those future engineers to come and work for the Corps and really solve water resource problems that are just, rampant in the nation. And so, out of the thousands of individuals that the Corps of Engineers hires, and whether it's the Corps or our fellow partners at EPA or the state environmental organizations, I mean, we just hope that they get in this field and try to make a difference.
Lisa and Craig, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show this evening, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday at Estuary Day, as well as the excitement of the young kids that come by. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For Dr. Craig Donovan and Lisa Barron, I'm Chris Bolwage, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.
Why do we like it here? Let's just say the reasons are diverse. Kane University.